Welcome back to Garage Story. So today I've got potentially a pretty exciting pickup for 2024. Let's go break a wrench. Come on, let's make a story. All right, we made it home safe and sound. This is a few days later and we are ready to unload this Toro. I think this will go a little easier than the first one I brought home a few years ago. So my front tires, I think, are off the feed. Oh, that's not good. All right, so let's talk about this thing for a little bit. I paid $250 for this Toro SS4200 Timecutter, and it's got the SmartSpeed 2-speed transmission system. And I think that I can sell this mower for probably around $1,500 when I'm done with it. So as purchased, it had a known issue with the seat, a known issue with the front tires. That's what they told me in the advertisement. And when I got there, I also noticed that the engine was kind of smoking and oily on the back. It appears to just be a bad valve cover gasket. I know these Kohler Courages can have other major issues with like the block cracking. However, the oil all seems to be coming from around the head, that area. So I think it's probably just a valve cover gasket, possibly a head gasket. I don't think so. So that's about $30 in parts to fix that. This seat is actually in good condition. The foam doesn't look too aged or deteriorated. Maybe a little bit there on the top. So I'm probably going to try to go ahead and re-glue this one if I can. So glue is like $10. If that doesn't work out, I can buy another seat for like $110, $120 something, I don't know, maybe $130. Front tires are pretty cheap. If they need to be replaced, I'm gonna try to reseat the beads and see if they will hold air. Because essentially, the previous owners, they stopped using this mower because they started hiring out their lawn care. The deck looks like it's in pretty good shape. Overall, the aesthetics look pretty good. It's not super faded, not super scratched up. I did notice we've got a plug in the sidewall on this tire back here. I'm probably gonna trim that off. I feel like I have a little bit of a traction issue when backing up. I think it's because of the front tires providing drag, but we'll get all that stuff sorted out and see if there really are any issues. It feels pretty responsive and tight. I'm hoping that I can put less than $250 into parts in this, and it's entirely possible that we will put less than $100 into this, which would be fantastic. So the first one of these mowers that I purchased, I paid $100 for. It was a pretty easy fix. I put maybe $100, $150 of parts into it, and then I believe I sold it for $1,800, which was a great flip. It took a while, and I used the mower a lot because I really like these mowers, but that motivated me to go buy another one for $1,000 and put maybe $100 into it, and I sold that one for $2,000. So it didn't make as much, but it was a pretty easy flip. This one is honestly in about as good a condition as the one that I paid $1,000 for, but I'm into it for a lot less. However, the market seems to be a little bit low or coming down for the prices of used equipment. So I would be happy to get $1,500 for this and make a clear $1,000 profit. I'm really happy to have this mower, so let's get it up into the shop and give it a once over. Yeah, let's go break a wrench. Tires, seat, oil leak. Oil leak is going to probably be the most major of these things to fix. I'm going to try to re-glue the seat on like I've seen other people do. I believe it was Freedom Mowers that showed gluing the seat back onto the pan using like a Gorilla construction adhesive, and I bought some that looked the same as what they were using there. So I'll be excited to try that out and see if it works. Front tires, probably just going to try the ratchet strap method to get the beads forced out to hold air. And this oil leak, I'm a little bit nervous that I may have a head gasket, not just a valve cover gasket. I've never done a head gasket on a lawnmower engine. Not yet. Let's get into it. Yeah, so this would be the valve cover right here. The valve cover gasket would be right in there, and the head gasket would be back in here somewhere. And I see a lot of oil back there. Can it run from here all the way over there? And if we're going to go ahead and change the valve cover gasket, should we risk just changing it and then finding out that it's a head gasket later and then having to replace the valve cover gasket again? Or would it be better just to go ahead and do both? Not quite sure. Hopefully washing it and running it a little bit will help us to see. As long as the block is not cracked, that's the main thing. All right, let's check the oil. That is way too full of oil. There's the full line right here, and the oil's up here. It smells like oil. I'm gonna go ahead and drain out some oil. That's a lot of oil there, and I don't want to damage stuff too much. Oh, great. This is one of those ones that you can't drain the oil very well. I don't know, I'm starting to wonder if this mower has really low time on it. Because under the oil change area, it's like really clean. Like it's never had oil drained out on it. I need a hose that will fit on there. I was trying to find a hose that would work, and I remembered I had this washing machine that I was taking apart out here. And there are 3 of these hoses. Here's the 3rd one. And what do you know? This thing fits perfectly. You never know when random junk will come in handy. Yeah, that's like exactly what we need. All right, oil level is just about perfect there now. Let's go ahead and stop the flow. All right, let's see if we've got enough charge in the battery for this thing to start up. And also I remembered that I saw somewhere, actually I think I watched it in a video somewhere, somebody said that you can test for, well not test exactly, but you can check for a blown head gasket by pulling the oil dipstick fill spot. And if you see any vapor coming out of there, that would be from a bad head gasket. So I may check that, but I don't want to run it too long because I want to get outside and see if we can wash it off, and I don't like to immediately wash engines that are too hot. Here goes. Maybe you're supposed to turn it off and then check. I see oil vapors, but that's it. Like oil particles suspended in the air, which is also what just splattered all over me. I'll probably check again later, but that's a good sign for not having a bad head gasket. We are getting gasoline running out of the carburetor. What? My fuel shutoff solenoid is literally loose, hanging in there. You can see the rubber O-ring in there. I'm gonna try to fix that. Oh, the wire was looped around the solenoid so it couldn't be tightened up in there all the way. But we got a loop of wire there that was around the solenoid, and that is what kept it from going in all the way. Should be able to get my special wrench in there now. I hope it works. It's my special 1/2-inch wrench that I ground flatter specifically to fit in situations like this. All right, one problem fixed. Take 2, let's get this thing out of here. Oh, come on. Okay, I went ahead and pulled the top cover off. Sitting over there. I just squirted soap on here. I'm apparently out of my degreaser, or it's lost pressure. But yeah, here's what it looks like. And here's the head gasket right there. Yeah, it's cooling off good. I'm trying to look at this thing. I do notice that there's no oil further that way than the head gasket. I don't know that that condemns the head gasket. Engine looks pretty clean other than that oil stuff there. These, I believe, are the killer bolts that if they back out, they catch on the flywheel, and the flywheel promptly cracks the engine casting. And it's time to go ahead and fire up the pressure washer and see what we can get cleaned off here. I did not get a pressure washer much sooner. So yeah, a lot cleaner than it was. You can see that quart gasket Why do they use a quart gasket on this? What do you think? You think it's just a valve cover gasket or a head gasket also? I guess from this point, we're just gonna let it dry out some, then we'll probably try to fire it up and drive it around and start seeing if it starts smoking again. There's probably gonna be still some residual oil burning off, which may make it seem smokier than it is, but hopefully we'll be able to see any new oil leakage, like where it's wet and shiny. Started up just fine. Pull it and check for vapor. Just a tiny bit of vapor. Maybe I do need to do a head gasket. As out here, the gaskets are looking pretty good, except for maybe the bottom side of this one right here. Oh yeah, there's oil right there on already. Wow, it runs really good. I may check compression. I really think the valve cover is obviously leaking. I'm torn. Do I just do a valve cover gasket and go, or do I also do a head gasket? Because I've never done a head gasket on one of these. I don't really want to get in more than I need to. However, if you do a valve cover, you're already partway through, so if I replace a valve cover and I decide later to do a head gasket, I've kind of wasted the effort to do the valve cover. I have to decide what I'm going to do now. Alright, so the day has arrived. My parts have come from Pro Parts Direct in this case, and we have a nice OEM Kohler head gasket kit, which comes with studs and all sorts of goodies in here, like all the gaskets that I should need to replace this. I believe I spent around $30-ish. Kohler genuine parts. The model number for this kit, or part number, whichever you call it, is 2084101S. Now, the fun part, we actually get to take apart this engine. I'm kind of psyching myself up. I say fun part. I'm not sure if it's going to be fun. I watched a video of somebody else doing it, and they said that this should be, about a 2-hour job, I think. Let's see if we can come anywhere close to that. I think the hardest part for me is going to be trying to clean off the old gasket surfaces, because I'm never quite sure how clean is clean enough. Let's get into it. First thing I'm going to do is try to jack up the engine a little bit so the oil will run back into the crankcase so we're not leaking oil out everywhere. Then we'll pop off the valve cover, then remove the intake assembly here, the carburetor. Some of that stuff you can leave loose and hanging. It's interesting how Kohler has this bolt over here and this bolt to hold the carburetor on. This one here is just kind of floating to help tension the intake plate on, or the, air filter housing on. We'll have to loosen our manifold bolts, pop off our spark plug wire, and then we should be able to untorque all of the head bolts. I think these might be 1/2 inch. Alright. Alright, them heads are on tight. I wonder if I should use my impact on these, especially the aluminum. I've heard that impacting is better than just slowly twisting it. It helps break the cohesion, I guess, with the aluminum. That was unexpected. That one came. The worst thing that could happen is I shear off one of these bolts in here. Just how tight are these supposed to be on here? Gosh, it's getting hot. I'm gonna go get an impact rated 1/2 inch deep socket and see if that works better. Oh, wow. Got these two pesky ones on top that aren't coming. Well, I may have to break out the 1/2 inch impact. Here's where we make or break it. That was easy. Oh. Wow. Just a couple hammers and out they come. Yep. Right. Did we have a head gasket leak? I can't tell. I think we may have had some leakage down the bottom. Anyhow, whether it was bad or not, it's going to get a new head gasket, and I'm going to get a little more experience. Let's go ahead and try to get this gasket off. You can see what the pressure washer did to the outside edge of the gasket. So nothing obvious is showing up to me. I don't know if this head gasket was really bad or not. Let's just go ahead and get this cleaned up and put back together. I'm gonna feel better knowing I put a new head gasket in it. All right, so I got my tools of choice for cleaning this. Got some carb cleaner. I do have brake cleaner, I think, that I can use also. Some paper towel. I'm gonna stuff a little bit in this hole down here because we don't really want to get any grime in there. And a razor blade, a nylon brush, and a brass brush. We're gonna do our best not to use the brass brush and to be really careful with the razor blade. The guy I saw just kind of loosely scraped it all off. I think that's what we're gonna do. Alright, that looks pretty good on here. I think we got it all cleaned off pretty well. Notice you still got the pattern from the head gasket. I can feel that a little bit, but it doesn't like want to come off, so I'm not sure exactly about that, but I think we're going to be fine. You've only got 3 points where oil can get out here. Here, here, and here. So I had oil on the exterior of my engine, which would have had to have been leaking from, you know, one of those points out. However, the reason I went ahead and did the head gasket is because I heard that if you have any vapor at all in your crankcase, that has to be from a bad head gasket. Maybe that's true, I don't know. The only way compression gases could get into my crankcase are those 3 same points. These 2 are a long ways away. This one is the close one, so this would be the most likely place. Let's go take a look at the head. We need to start getting it cleaned off anyway. This is that point down there on the bottom. You would be bridging from here to here to get pressure into your engine, and I can't really tell if there's anything bridging there. The other points would be here and here. I don't think those are the issue. My guess is when issues occur on these engines like that, where you're getting vapors into your crankcase, it's probably through here. Alright, well I think this is probably good enough. I really tried to focus on getting that clean right in there. I'm not too concerned about the carbon ring. It is what it is. And I think the valves look pretty good. I could do a valve check. I'm not going to. The engine ran pretty good already. It ran fine actually. At this point really we just need to clean everything off and try to get it bolted back together. Let's see if we can clean up this valve cover and the sponge that's in here. There's the sponge. That sponge looks fine. It looked better than I thought it would look, but it definitely does have oil in it. We're just gonna try to block that out. We'll spray it out with some carb cleaner. And now I think we are ready to reassemble the engine. Pretty excited about that. Alright, well I flushed off this surface a little bit when you weren't watching. Let's go ahead and open up the kit and see what we got here. Instructions, which this time I will not be throwing away. Fuse. Okay, examine the drain back hole on top of the crankcase. And I don't have that round ball as far as I can tell. See here, there's a square notch on the side of the hole. Here, I just have a round hole. Yep, I do not have that drain back check ball on this engine. Interesting. If the crankcase has a round hole, an internal drain back tube is used instead of the check ball. See figure 2. So I think we're okay. Let's get this done. Head gasket looks pretty good. There's a slight crease of sorts there. I'm hopeful it's okay. So what I'm doing is making sure there's no debris in those holes because you want them to torque properly. And if there's debris in there, it could affect how they torque. I think I've given enough time for those holes to dry out. I'm gonna go ahead and set this on here and go run grab my head. This bolt. Now it's time to break out the torque wrench. 180 inch-pounds and then 360 inch-pounds, and it gives me a torque pattern. So starting top one, bottom one, top left, bottom right, top right, bottom left. Gonna have to use an extension on here. I don't think that's ideal as far as torque wrenches go to use an extension, but I don't think it'll be a huge deal. Now the next one is 360 inch-pounds, which is double. Alright, so we got the head on and torqued up. So next thing is going to be to install the push rods and get them all greased up. Then we will set the valves and then put the valve cover on. Alright, got my 10mm wrench, got my T15, and I got my feeler gauge, which fell apart, and thankfully I was able to find the nut. Now I think I tightened it too tight and they're really stiff. So we need a 5 thousandths and a 7 thousandths. We're supposed to use the 5 thousandths for the intake, which is this side, and 7 thousandths for this one. Alright, valves are adjusted. Now we will wipe this out and get ready to do the fun part, which is try to put the valve cover on here with its fancy dancy cork gasket, which we will somewhat cover in Honda Bond. So I've had this Honda Bond probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, but I'm not going to use this one. I got this stuff from the Mower dealership, and it's not a Honda dealership. This is what they recommended that I put on this gasket for this engine. I have no idea if everybody else is going to disagree, but it's basically a gasket material in and of itself. Apply as thinly and evenly as possible using a brush or putty knife. I'm thinking I'm probably going to use a plastic putty knife or a plastic razor blade. So I want it on both sides of the gasket instead of wait a minute. So I'm probably going to put it on both of the metal surfaces, then put the gasket in between it, and then tighten it down. Sounds like a plan. How on earth did they expect this thing to seal on there? Those top holes look like they've pulled through partially to me, like they've been over tightened. I may have to get another valve cover. We'll see. I think I got all the Honda Bond on, tried to spread it around, and it's probably set more than a minute now. Gotta get this matched up. Will this just stay up here? Torque the valve cover screws to 95 inch-pounds. I don't know how tight that is. Alright, I'm gonna leave it be now, and hopefully that works. I think I sufficiently over-torqued it. So this is what it looks like. The gasket just starts falling apart there before you even hit torque. If you look at the old one, you'll see the same thing kind of happened. I think part of that might be because maybe it was over tightened last time, so this part of the valve cover is bent inwards, so it tightens down faster. But you know, you gotta get it tightened down. I may have totally botched this up, but I don't really know. So the only way to find out is to let it cure and run it and see if it works good. If it doesn't leak oil anymore, then we fix the problem. We're moving right along. This isn't that bad. It's only, 2 or 3 times as long as it's supposed to be. Technically, we're done. I mean, I think we could actually fire up and run the engine the way it is right now. It'd be good to take the tools off first, but it's time for me to clean up. Alright, it's been a few days since I put this valve cover on, and let's go take a look here and see. Yeah, that Honda Bond has dried up nicely. I did notice a little bit of oil in there. I wiped it off last night, and it's looking pretty clean today, so that's good. I'm not really sure where it came from because I've had the engine tilted back this whole time, so no oil should be coming out of there. I don't know. maybe just residual from somewhere. I think it's time to go ahead and fire this thing up and see how it goes. Hopefully we fix the oil leak. I'll go ahead and throw the cover back on here so the engine can cool well. It's not that hard to take it off and on. I can just pull it off again if I decide to go ahead and try to Loctite these bolts here. I'm not quite sure if it's better just to leave them alone if they're fine and it's been run for quite a while, or if it'd be better to take them out, put Loctite, and put them back in. It has occurred to me that we may be able to see some stuff better if the cover is off, especially around the head gasket area, so I'm actually going to leave it off. We'll just go ahead and see if we can fire it up. And it'll be kind of a moment of truth for the new head gasket. Well, that stinks. I guess I'll have to get the jumper cables over here. Time for take two. Hello down there, time to wake up. Make sure I hooked up the carb right. What do you know, I didn't hook up the carb right. Forgot to plug in the solenoid. Take three. Alright, well, I think the head gasket replacement was a success. We're burning off some residual oil there. Not sure yet about the valve cover gasket. That's going to take a little bit more running time to see how that goes, but here, let's pop this and see if there's any vapor in there. There's probably going to be the exact same vapor there was before. It does look pretty similar, so I didn't run it as long there. I think what's in there right now is just the oil droplets. At this point, we're just going to run it more and see if the valve cover keeps leaking oil. If it does, we're going to go ahead and probably order a new valve cover with the stiffener kit. And I've got another valve cover gasket still, so yeah, that's the plan. I'm being tough of something when I do that. Do I have a head gasket leak? Oh, yep, I've got a leak out the top of my valve cover. So see this? On my new one, this part here somehow got dropped down too far. So air is coming out right out the top of that. So this section right there, where you can't really see any gasket, that's where this would be. And I noticed I couldn't see anything, I just assumed it was down there farther than I could see. It got dropped down in there and the torquing and everything. When I rotate this, it is pushing a lot of air out of there. So, unfortunately, looks like I'm gonna have to pull that off again. That's okay, it's my first time doing it, and I'll feel better having a new valve cover on there anyway, so. Meanwhile, I'm gonna get back to working on the front tires. All right, we shall see if we can utilize the ratchet strap trick to get this bead reseated. This thing looks like it's tubed. If this thing is tubed, I don't need to reseat my bead. Well, it's taking air okay. It's a good sign. Alright, so I think that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Unfortunately, it seems like we're going to need to make this a two-parter. Let's just do a quick summary real quick. We purchased this mower for $250, I think it was. We realized upon purchasing it that it was leaking some oil, definitely from the valve cover and possibly also from the head gasket. We went ahead and replaced both of those after washing it all off. It ran again after we put the new head gasket in, so that was really good. But then we realized that we'd messed up slightly on the gasket for the valve cover, and it was pushing air out pretty good, which was not good. So that means in the next video, we're gonna see if we can replace the valve cover because it was damaged. Actually, this is the new valve cover. We already replaced it, but you'll see that in the next video. See if we can work on the seat, get the battery replaced, and get this thing sold. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, we did get our front tires aired up and they seem to be holding air great, so that's just one more thing to mark off the list. Anyway, we made great progress on this mower. I'm really excited to get this thing fixed up the rest of the way, get this thing sold, And as I've already told you, we're already making more headway than what we showed in this video, and that's really good. So until next time, you all stay safe, keep making stories, and don't be afraid to get out there and break a wrench. And also, if you want more Toro Zero Turn content, a lot like this mower here that I'm working on currently, you can go check out some of my earlier videos. In fact, one of them I think is the most popular video on the channel. And the first Toro I got was really cheap, but we got fixed really easily, at least the original problems. Then we went on and fixed some other stuff, and we sold that one and made a great profit, and it kind of got me hooked on these Toro Zero Turns.